Gary Williams, Bob Petushka, and Al Dada, if I'm pronouncing that right. So what a rattlesnake hunt is basically they walk around in terms of trying to find stuff that is potentially going to bite you that you don't necessarily see every day. So the concept is getting another set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes to look at different things, as well as none of us is as smart as all of us kind of a concept. Everybody sees different things, everybody brings a different perspective to that environment in terms of what they're looking at, and that was demonstrated very well when we're walking around. So we took a tour of the facility, we gathered each note on Post-its, we kind of did a small affinity diagram in terms of where that laid out, and really laid out in terms of safety, housekeeping, sustainability and energy, and then as well as positive takeaways. So, you don't want to leave everything negative. There's also a lot of positive stuff that we had, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the things that was most interesting for me, because I wasn't thinking about that, but the sustainability and energy, Gary Gabriella had a lot of stuff involved in that in terms of lighting, turning things on and off when you could, going to LED bulbs, air handling units, fans running in areas that nobody was around, all those type of things that are not necessarily forefront in your mind, but kind of those slow leaks that drain energy and hence money away from that. So that was kind of an aha moment for what we were looking at for that. From a safety perspective, again, it was very, very nice facility. You can tell safety is first and foremost, but there were a couple of things that we saw. Load ratings on their racks. Some of them definitely had very well marked load ratings, although some of them were missing. So from an ocean inspection or something like that, that was probably the greatest watch out. Some of the locations where the fire extinguishers, while not blocked, probably not ideal, especially if there was a fire in a smoky situation. We had some of the rolls or the racks were lifted on their side, so they could have rolled potentially. And one of the eye wash stations was actually rotated 90 degrees. So small thing, but if you've got chemicals in your eyes or something like that, you're not going to think to walk up and then rotate 90 degrees to an eye wash station. So again, one of those things that you don't really see unless you're actually actively looking for it. Housekeeping was relatively minor stuff. In fact, one of the positive things everybody brought up was the organization of 5S of the facility. We thought that was really, really good. Another one was the homegrown SCADA system. A lot of the diagrams and information systems have been self-developed by one of their engineers in-house for an extremely low amount of money, in my opinion. So I'm going to follow up, and that's a key takeaway for me because we're investigating some of those things on our end.
And tell them what a SCADA is.
SCADA is a shop floor data and acquisition system. So how are you getting your information online from those specific pieces of equipment automatically, and how is that loading up? And they've got some of the Visio boards and stuff there. And if I can quote Al, and I'm still kind of in shock, but they did everything out there for under $35,000, which you can't even get some software package for that price. And I even asked that question like 3 times to make sure I heard it correctly. Yeah. So I'm really impressed.
We're all in shock.
Finding more about that. And then obviously the communication tools and the visual management were very, very positive, and a lot of key takeaways that we can bring back to our facilities. So I don't know in terms of how I'm doing on time there.
You're doing great. You're doing great. So what else would you like to add on the positive side that we saw?
I guess one thing I'd like to add is we had some really good dialogue about how would that apply to a different type of organization. So something that was software development as opposed to manufacturing. But we thought some of the same principles of the Rattlesnake approach could work.
Why don't you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I know the discussion was about things falling between the cracks where the engineers or software engineers were working on a project, and one of the team members may go to a different meeting with someone in Japan, and then how does that information come back? So
yeah, it had a lot to do with communication, and how is the communication carried out. It may be everybody in the U.S. is kind of agreed upon it on a course of action, but someone goes to a different meeting, gets a different input, and that's not communicated well, and that can cause problems. And so it was an analogy to the tiered accountability system that we have in terms of having structured ways of communication to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And one of the things that really stuck out to me was this idea of exceptional customer experience. And Al, why don't you tell us how that gets filtered up to your level, please?
Yeah, you know, one of the things when we talked about the tiered accountability system, obviously problems get escalated up. But we also have extraordinary customer experiences that get escalated up as well. So there may be, you know, an operator in a particular area who did a great job in getting the job out, even though the machine was acting up or whatever. That gets communicated at our Tier 1 meeting, but that can filter up all the way up to our Tier 4. And one of the things that we're doing with our Tier 4 accountability meeting is coming up with one plant-wide metric sheet that tells everybody how did we do yesterday. And as part of that, there will be a section devoted to extraordinary customer experience, so people know the good things that are happening as well.
One of the things that I saw that was very impressive was a sheet that the operators were collecting data and deciding when they would do a Kaizen on a particular area. Would you give us a
QCPC process where the operators are recording turnbacks, and as those turnbacks accumulate at the Tier 1 meeting, they look at that and they say, okay, what's causing this? What can we do about it? And there may be Kaizen blitzes, or it may escalate to a Kaizen project. But they're tracking their own turnbacks and taking corrective actions to eliminate them.
I commend you for using the total space utilization is amazing out there.
Yeah, we're actually too crowded, but we do have plans for expansion if we can get the approval. Involved in creating software, and you could go on a rattlesnake hunt for that process. And what are the what are the issues that are waiting to bite you in terms of developing software?